Good morning to all of you, friends of the media. I have a brief opening statement. I'll read that and then we can take questions. Following the Prime Minister's announcement of a rupee 20 lakh crore stimulus package on the 12th of May, the Finance Minister filled in the details over a period of 5 days. She called them 5 tranches. We have carefully analyzed the contents of the 5 tranches. We have also looked into the analyses put out by various economists, experts, agencies, and banks. In our considered opinion, only the following items qualify as fiscal stimulus measures entailing additional expenditure over and above the amount of rupees 30,42,230 crore in the expenditure budget for 2020-21. Let me repeat that. The expenditure budget already has 30,42,230 crore rupees. Let me list the items. 1. Revenue lost due to tax concessions since 22nd of March, 7,500 crore rupees. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package, of which cash transfers are 33,000 crore rupees, free grain is 60,000 crore rupees. Medical and health infrastructure, 15,000 crore rupees. 4. EPF support for businesses and workers, 2,800 crore rupees. 5. Reduction of EPF rates, 6,750 crore rupees. 6. Free food grain for migrant workers for 2 months, 3,500 crore rupees. 7. Interest subsidy for Mudra Sishu loans, assuming the entire subsidy will be paid to the banks in 2020-21, 1,500 crore rupees. 8. Additional credit through KCC, assuming the additional interest subsidy will be paid to the lenders in 2020-21, 8,000 crore rupees. 9. Top to total Operation Greens, 500 crore rupees. 10. Promotion of herbal cultivation for 2 years, 4,000 crore rupees. 11. Viability gap funding, assuming the entire amount will be paid in 2020-21, 8,100 crore rupees. 12. Additional allocation to Maganrega, 40,000 crore rupee. Total, in our considered view, is 1,86,650 crore. Let me repeat that number, 1,86,650 crore. The rest of the announcements are already included in the budget expenditure. Some are front loading of already budgeted expenditure, regulatory measures, a number of liquidity measures, medium to long-term plans and schemes, and proposed reforms. We will comment on these in due course in the coming days. Let me state categorically, there can be no fiscal stimulus to the economy without additional expenditure over and above the budgeted expenditure. We note that the Finance Minister acknowledged that additional expenditure must be financed by additional borrowing. The true value of the fiscal stimulus package will therefore be known when we know what is the additional borrowing in 2020-21 to finance the additional expenditure over and above the expenditure budget. The truth cannot be hidden for long. In our view, a fiscal stimulus package of rupees 1,86,650 crore, amounting to barely 0.91% of GDP, will be totally inadequate given the gravity of the economic crisis and the dire situation in which people find themselves. Most analysts, rating agencies, and banks have placed the size of the fiscal stimulus at between 0.8 to 1.5%. We also note with deep regret but the fiscal stimulus package has left several sections high and dry, including 1. The bottom half of the population of 13 crore families. 2. Migrant workers. 3. Farmers. 4. Landless agricultural labor. 5. Daily wage non-agricultural labor. 6. Workers who've been laid off or retrenched. 7. Workers in unorganized or unregistered businesses, units who have lost their jobs. 8. Self-employed who have no work. 9. 7 crore shopkeepers. 10. Lower middle class families who have run out of cash and are forced to borrow. And 11. 5.8 crore MSMEs. We will address these sections in due course in the coming days. We express our thorough disappointment and request the government to reconsider the stimulus package and announce a revised and comprehensive fiscal stimulus package of not less than 10 lakh crore rupees of real additional expenditure equivalent to 10% GDP. Now, Supriya wants to state that briefly in Hindi and then we can take questions.
Supriya ji, go ahead, please.
थैंक यू सर. आप सब लोगों को मेरा नमस्कार. और चिदम्बरम जी ने बहुत अच्छे से ये समझा दिया है कि इस जुमला पैकेज की असलियत क्या है. जब 12 मई को प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आकर ये बड़ी बात कही कि 20 लाख करोड़ का पैकेज आएगा और 2020 की ये बड़ी बात थी, हम लोगों को कहीं उम्मीद और आशा थी कि शायद उनको गरीबों का, लाचारों का दर्द और दुख समझ में आ गया है. शायद उनको ये समझ में आ गया है कि भारत की जो अर्थव्यवस्था है वो पूरी तरह से चरमरा चुकी है और वो इसका उपाय ढूंढने जा रहे हैं और उपाय करेंगे. लेकिन 5 सीरियल जो हमने देखे, 5 धारावाहिक जो वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण ने पिछले 5 दिन में हम लोगों को दिखाए, उसके बाद एक बात साफ है कि ये सरकार गरीब का, कमजोर का और यहां तक कि मध्यम वर्ग का भी दर्द ना समझ रही है और ना समझने की कोशिश कर रही है. क्योंकि जो खर्चा और जो आंकड़ा आया है वो बहुत बड़ा जबानी जमा खर्च है. इसमें से सरकार के पास से बहुत कम पैसा खर्चा होगा. चिदम्बरम जी ने इसको बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया है. मैं एक बार फिर से हिंदी में इसको दोहरा दूं कि ये जो हमने फिगर्स का विश्लेषण किया है, जो हमने फिगर्स लगाए हैं, जो आंकड़े आपके सामने प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं, ये अर्थशास्त्रों से बात करके, विशेषज्ञों से बात करके, तमाम एजेंसियों का आंकड़ा और विश्लेषण देख के, बैंकों का विश्लेषण देख के बाद हम इस समीक्षा पर आए हैं. ये बात साफ है कि वित्तीय वर्ष 2021 का जो एक्सपेंडिचर बजट था वो 30,42,230 करोड़ था और उसके अतिरिक्त खर्चा जो अनाउंस किया है वित्त मंत्री ने पिछले 5 दिनों में, जो एक धारावाहिक हम लोगों ने देखा है, 1-1.5 घंटे चला वो सीरियल रोज नेशनल टेलीविजन पर, उसका ब्रेकअप मैं 2 मिनट में दूंगी. लेकिन अतिरिक्त खर्चा एक्सपेंडिचर बजट से मात्र 1.86 लाख करोड़ है, मात्र 1,86,650 करोड़ है. उससे एक पैसा भी ज्यादा नहीं है. ब्रीफली बता दूं इसमें क्या क्या है. इसमें राजस्व को होने वाला नुकसान है टैक्स की छूट पर 7500 करोड़ का. गरीब कल्याण पैकेज में कैश ट्रांसफर 33,000 करोड़ का किया गया और जो अनाज मुफ्त में बांटा गया वो 60,000 करोड़ का लगभग था. मेडिकल और हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर 15,000 का खर्चा हुआ है. ईपीएफ दर में जो कटौती हुई है उसमें खर्चा 6,750 करोड़ का हुआ है. ईपीएफ का सहयोग जो सरकार ने किया है, सरकार ने कहीं पर भी वेतन देने की बात नहीं करी है. जो सहयोग किया वो 2,800 करोड़ का है. प्रवासी मजदूरों को जो मुफ्त अनाज दिया जाएगा महज 3,500 करोड़ रुपए का है. जो शिशु लोन की सब्सिडी है वो 1,500 करोड़ की, और हम ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि ये पूरी की पूरी इस वित्तीय वर्ष में दे दी जाएगी. केसीसी द्वारा अतिरिक्त क्रेडिट, और फिर से हम मान के चल रहे हैं कि पूरी की पूरी वित्तीय वर्ष में दे दी जाएगी, कि पूरी आपूर्ति 8,000 करोड़ है. टॉप टू टोटल ऑपरेशन ग्रीन्स 500 करोड़ का है. 2 साल के लिए हर्बल कल्टीवेशन का प्रमोशन 4,000 करोड़ का है. वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग, और हम फिर से ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि इस पूरे वित्तीय वर्ष में ये पैसा आवंटित हो जाएगा, ये 8100 करोड़ का है. और मनरेगा के लिए 40,000 करोड़ रुपए दिए गए। इनका सम टोटल जो है वो 1,86,650 करोड़ आता है, उससे एक नया पैसा ज्यादा नहीं। इसके अलावा मंत्री ने एक बात बिल्कुल सही कही है कि हमको जब अतिरिक्त बोरोइंग दिखेगी तभी पता चलेगा कितना खर्चा हुआ है, और चिदम्बरम जी ने इसका जो फिगर लगाया है वो 1% से कम है जीडीपी का। जो अतिरिक्त खर्चा हो रहा है वो मात्र 0.91% है, वो 1% से भी कम है जीडीपी का। और कहीं ना कहीं सरकार ने बुरी तरह से अनदेखी करी है लोगों की दर्द की, लोगों के दुख की। इसमें 13 करोड़ वो परिवार हैं जो सबसे निचले तबके के हैं, वो बाहर हैं। इसमें गरीबों के लिए, इसमें प्रवासी मजदूरों के लिए, किसानों के लिए, भूमिहर कृषि मजदूरों के लिए, दिहाड़ी मजदूर काम करने वालों के लिए, जिन लोगों ने अपनी नौकरी खोई है, 14 करोड़ से अनुमानित ज्यादा है जिनकी नौकरी गई है, जिनकी छटनी हुई है, वो लोग, असंगठित क्षेत्र के जो अनरजिस्टर्ड व्यवसाय हैं वो लोग जिनकी नौकरी चली गई है, स्वरोजगार, 7 करोड़ दुकानदार, और वो मध्यम वर्ग जिसका पैसा समाप्त हो चुका है और वो ऋण लेने को मजबूर है, और करीब करीब 6 करोड़ एमएसएमईज भी इसमें दरकिनार करे गए हैं। तो कहीं पर सरकार ने उनके दर्द, उनकी वेदना की ऐसी अनदेखी करी और उससे मुंह फेर लिया है। हमें इस पैकेज से अतिशय निराशा है, और हम आग्रह करते हैं और आशा करते हैं कि फिर से समीक्षा होकर एक फिस्कल स्टिमुलस पैकेज जो वाकई में अर्थव्यवस्था को चुस्त दुरुस्त कर सके वो अनाउंस किया जाएगा। लोन मेलों से बचा जाएगा, और इस तरह के जो फिगर्स इधर उधर से लाके डाल दिए गए हैं इससे वित्त मंत्री बचेंगी, और वाकई में देश की दिल से मदद करने का हम लोग आग्रह करते हैं। चिदम्बरम जी, आपके सवाल लेंगे।
Thank you, Supriya ji. We'll take questions first on the suo motu, please. Please indicate who wants to ask the first question. Sunil Prabhu, please go ahead from NTV.
Sir, I just wanted to know from you. Yesterday, she made it clear that in terms of fiscal deficit, she will revisit it again after around September because it's only 2 months, and also indicated quite clearly that there are more steps that are being taken. The government plans to do in terms of helping the poor. So, do you think they have left it open-ended, and where would you, in the Congress Party, want the fiscal deficit to be? I mean, at rough estimates, it's around 5.5. Will it, or you should just let it go, as you said earlier?
I don't think this is the time to worry about the fiscal deficit. If the additional expenditure turns out to be another 10 lakh crore or whatever, and the additional borrowing is about 10 lakh crore, obviously the fiscal deficit will go up from the current 3.5 to 5.5 or 6. But that should not be a matter of worry. We have repeatedly said, and many economists and central bankers have said, if at some stage during the course of the year you find that the fiscal deficit is uncomfortable, monetize that part. Monetize 50% of the fiscal deficit, which is in excess of what you think is should be there. I don't think fiscal deficit is a worry. The immediate concern and the paramount concern must be borrow more, spend more, give a fiscal stimulus to the economy.
Thank you, sir. We'll go to the next question. Premanshu from Anando Bazar Patrika.
Yes, sir. I have two questions. Yesterday, the finance minister said that this spending through or liquidity supply through Reserve Bank and the loans from the bank, that will also have an impact, according to her. So, how do you see this? And number two, that she has raised the borrowing limit for states, but has put up 4 conditions. So, what is your view on that?
I think they are wrong on liquidity. They're giving a spin. Liquidity works on the supply side. You give liquidity to banks to lend to, say, MSMEs. That means MSMEs can supply more, but there must be demand. Fiscal stimulus works on the demand side. I think the officers who were present with her know the difference. but we're deliberately trying to obfuscate. And the finance minister did not wish to explain the difference between a liquidity measure operating on the supply side and a fiscal stimulus measure operating on the demand side. Every economist has pointed it out, and I don't want to labor that point again and again. Number two, allowing the states to borrow. I've spoken to one or two states. Now, this is hedged with conditions. And how do you think they will fulfill these conditions? All right, one nation, one ration card can be done maybe in 2-3 months. But the remaining conditions like ease of doing business, DISCOM reforms, those will take time, which means most of the year will be out. You have to borrow today. The states want the headroom to borrow more. And if you don't give them the headroom today and ask them to fulfill conditions which may take them to January or February, if the headroom is available in January or February, what purpose will it serve? They need the money to spend today. I think on both the explanation given by the finance minister and or her officers is unacceptable.
Thank you, sir. We'll have next question from Sandeep Hukan from The Hindu. Sandeep, please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, the Congress party and you in particular have raised many times the need to resort to direct cash transfer. This question was put up to the finance minister yesterday. She said the government had taken all kinds of opinion, but didn't quite answer whether they would favor this. But clearly they haven't in the 5 tranches they have announced. So when you ask them to reconsider, would you want them to immediately resort to cash transfers?
Absolutely. The government listens only to its own opinion. Let it point out any economist of repute who has said that liquidity measures are sufficient to stimulate the economy, to stimulate the demand side of the economy. I think the government is living in an echo chamber. They listen to their own voices, they listen to their own opinion. We will continue to plug the narrative that this fiscal package is only 1,86,000 odd crore. Our PCCs, our workers, our spokespersons throughout the country in different languages will press this number and say this is all that has been given for a country with 130 crore people, and not 1 rupee is going by way of direct cash transfer to the poor families, nor is 1 rupee going by way of direct cash transfer to the migrant worker. We will continue to press our point of view.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to the next question. Ruchi Bhatia from ET now is there. Ruchi, please ask your question.
So good morning. The argument from the government side has always been on the rating agencies that if we breach our fiscal deficit quite a lot, then the rating agencies will not take it too kindly and they may downgrade us even more. How do you look at the argument that the government has given vis-a-vis the kind of situation and problems we're dealing with?
Well, I don't think the rating agencies run the country or run the government.
Sir, I am sorry to interrupt. Your camera has gone out of focus, sir. You'll have to readjust. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I don't think the rating agencies run the government or run the country. Rating is relative. When every country of the world is in distress and every country is facing a recession, practically every country in Europe is facing a recession. So if the rating agency downgrades us, they will have to downgrade every European country also. Therefore, I think this is a unnecessary fear. We'll have to face that situation. As long as our foreign exchange reserves are high, our inflation is under control, we are on the right path, demand grows and the GDP picks up. Why would a rating agency downgrade us? Is it because they've got some malevolent attitude towards us? I don't think so. I think this is an irrational fear. We should simply go ahead and do what we think is right. And tell the rating agencies, listen, this is what our people need, this is what we will do.
We'll take question from Bilal. been waiting.
Yeah, sir, good afternoon. This is Bilal from Swaraj Express. Sir, my question is, okay, apart from 61,000 crore, which was already given to Manrega, yesterday the finance minister additionally announced the 40,000 crores in Manrega. So, do you think this kind of help, 40,000 crore, will help, to create a demand at the ground, or will it also help to create the inflation some way?
No, I don't think inflation is the concern now. There's so low demand. Where is the fear about inflation? Remember, Mr. Narendra Modi, after he became Prime Minister in Parliament, said, I will continue with Maganrega. It's a monument to Congress's failure. And what is today the fallback position of the Modi government? It is to add 40,000 crore to the Maganrega budget. So, these words will come back to haunt them. What they called a monumental failure of the Congress government is now the safety net for the poor of this country.
The next question, Sandeep Swarnkar from Vartman wants to ask.
Good afternoon, sir. Here is Sandeep from Vartman newspaper.
Yeah.
Thank you. You said it's a Jumla package. It's a misleading. They are misleading country. So and also they are failed to comment on COVID. So will you demand the PM should come on TV and apologize and tender his resignation?
You've got a big hope. The Prime Minister will not address a media conference. He's never done one in the last 6 years. So I don't entertain such illusory hopes as you do, but good luck to you. You can ask him to appear on TV.
We'll move to the next one, sir. Rakesh Kapoor ji wants to ask a question. Rakesh ji, please go ahead. Rakesh ji, can you hear us? We'll move to the next one. Mayank wants to ask. Mayank, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. This is Mayank from India Vision. My question is, see, in the so-called economic package, there's been a 90% relief of for the to the supply segment and 10% to the demand segment. So now, if we talk of the 100 crore limit of this of investment into the MSME sector, which has been done now, do you think that won't it allow the big fishes to enter the pond and eat up the small fishes, as they won't be able to compete now? The MSME sector, the way it will change, and considering this and other other provisions, do you think is it a corona relief package, or a friendship or a friend relief package? As talking of FDI in defense, land usage, and when PM says land, how can we relate it to corona in any ways, especially land mentioned by the PM?
See, this is a package of all kinds of things, and it seems as though Santa Claus is carrying a big bag and pulling out one item after another. One has no relation to the other. What has land got to do with liquidity? What has legal reforms got to do with liquidity? But they are mixing up all these things and confusing the people. But the people will not be confused. People will know where it hurts them. Today, it hurts them in the stomach. It hurts them when they see their children starving without milk, without medicine. It hurts them when their pregnant wife dies while walking back home. It hurts them when they have no jobs in the village. It hurts them when they are forced to go back to the city and they find that they have still the old Juggi Jhopdi and no houses have come up. I think people know where it hurts them. You can't fool all the people all the time. So I'm not going to comment on all other things, since today we are confined to discussing the fiscal stimulus package. I'll say this fiscal stimulus package is totally inadequate. The MSME issue will be addressed in due course. We will read the definition. We have not had the notification yet. It's only when the notification comes and we analyze the notification, we will know where it has liberalized, where it may hurt the existing MSME. We will study all that and react. We will come back to you every day or practically every day.
But sir, do you believe that the government is using the situation as an opportunity, in a way, enforcing some sort of financial emergency over the country, as well as superpassing the parliament and announcing a lot of things which should be discussed in the parliament?
Yeah. If you meant, is the government being opportunistic? Yes, they are being opportunistic. It's not seizing an opportunity to do great reforms. It is being opportunistic. What one person or one group of persons think is right, they're just announcing it without thinking through the consequences. You saw editorials and articles today which are pointing out the downside of some of the announcements. The government is being opportunistic. It's bypassing the stakeholder consultation process. It is bypassing legislation in Parliament. It is bypassing a discussion in Parliament. And all this will be resisted and challenged. If there is a genuine reform that takes the economy forward, we will support it, but we will have to read the fine print.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sorry, we'll move to the next one. Ramanji from News 24 wants to ask a question. Ramanji? आवाज नहीं आ रही आपकी. अनम्यूट है पर आवाज नहीं आ रही.
की प्रॉब्लम ज्यादा बढ़ती जा रही है और नरेंद्र मोदी जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने थे उस वक्त उन्होंने इसका मजाक उड़ाया था और अब फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस हो या यूपी चीफ मिनिस्टर योगी आदित्यनाथ की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में हो, सब लोग यही कह रहे हैं कि मनरेगा में हमने फंड बढ़ाया है. क्या माइग्रेंट लेबर जो एक प्रदेश से दूसरे प्रदेश जा रहे हैं उनके लिए मनरेगा के जरिए उनका पुनर्निवास हो सकता है, पुनर्स्थापन हो सकता है?
I understand the question. Correct me, Pranab.
Ji, sir.
The thing is, Maganrega, the only suckered migrant workers. Is that
correct, sir? Correct, sir.
At the moment, Maganrega is the only carrot they have dangled before the migrant worker. But please remember what I've been saying. The new Maganrega work that is being created in the villages will be both for the migrant labor who has returned to the village, as well as the people who have stayed back in the village. For every returning migrant worker, there are perhaps 100 people who are already in the village. Therefore, if X number of days of work are created in that village, it has to be shared by the returning migrant worker as well as these workers who have stayed back. So if the returning migrant worker, say, forms 5% of the total workforce in the village, only 5% of the additional Maganrega work days will go to the returning migrant worker. The real test is at the end of the quarter or end of the half year, we will have to find out how many days of work each person has got. Today, the average is no more than 40, 50 days a year. So if they don't get their 100 days work, what's the purpose of simply expanding the Maganrega? I welcome the expansion because it will give work to the total population. But how much the migrant worker will benefit will be very limited. But that's certainly not enough for the migrant worker. He's completely destitute today. It's not enough to give him, say, 7 days of work a month, which is 84 days a year, or 8 days of work a month, which is 96 days a year. What will 8 days of work help a migrant worker who is completely impoverished, without cash, without saving, and without hope?
Sir, if you will allow, I think Supriya also handed
please.
Speak Hindi, add in Hindi. Supriya ji.
थैंक यू. आपने जो मगनरेगा पे सवाल किया और चिदम्बरम जी ने उसका बिल्कुल सही जवाब दिया है कि मगनरेगा ही वो अब संजीवनी लग रही है जो ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में और बहुत ही अशोभनीय भाषा में प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने पार्लियामेंट की फ्लोर पर इसका मजाक उड़ाया था और कहा था कि मैं इसको इसलिए जीवित रखूंगा जिससे आपकी विफलताएं बता सकूं। लेकिन आज तो सच ये है कि यही एक ऐसी स्कीम है और जो खाद्य सुरक्षा कानून, दो ऐसे बड़े कानून जो यूपीए की सरकार लाई थी जो आज संजीवनी साबित हो रहे हैं हमारे ग्रामीण इलाकों में, और इसी के चलते लोगों को कुछ मदद मिल रही है। आपका जो एग्जैक्ट सवाल था कि क्या ये माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स के लिए, प्रवासी श्रमिकों के लिए पर्याप्त रहेगा, इसका जवाब है कि ये मदद जरूर करेगा, संजीवनी का काम करेगा, लेकिन पर्याप्त नहीं रह सकता है, क्योंकि जो प्रवासी श्रमिक वापस अपने गांव आ रहे हैं और वहां पर जो मनरेगा काम दिया जाएगा उसमें उनकी जो होड़ लगेगी वो उनके साथ लगेगी जो गांवों में है अभी, और इसके चलते तिमाही पर या 6 महीने बाद हमें देखना पड़ेगा कि कितना काम मिला। 40 से 50 एक औसतन दिन का काम मिलता है, 100 दिन का तो काम मिलता भी नहीं है। और ये जो प्रवासी श्रमिक वापस आ रहे हैं इनके पास ना पैसा है, ना वेतन है, ना जमा पूंजी है और ना आशा है, तो इनके लिए सरकार को कुछ और भी बढ़ के करना पड़ेगा। मैं पुनः वही बात कहती हूँ जो चिदम्बरम जी ने कही कि ये संजीवनी का काम करेगी, ये लोगों को जीवित जरूर रखेगी और हमें फक्र है कि हम एक ऐसा कानून लाए खाद्य सुरक्षा के साथ, लेकिन शायद ये पर्याप्त नहीं होगा और सरकार को जबानी जमा खर्च के आगे और पैसा खर्च करना पड़ेगा मजदूरों के लिए।
धन्यवाद सुप्रिया जी। अगला सवाल मोहित दुबे न्यूज नेशन से पूछना चाहती हूँ। मोहित।
मिस्टर चिदम्बरम, मोहित दुबे न्यूज नेशन से बोल रहा हूँ मैं।
यस।
इस वक्त ठीक मेरे पीछे आप देख सकते हैं कि हजारों की तादाद में मजदूर हैं और इनको अपने घर जाना है। ये प्रवासी मजदूर हैं, माइग्रेंट हैं, दिल्ली में ये रहते हैं और रजिस्ट्रेशन जिस रूप में, जिस तरीके से होना चाहिए उस रूप में अब तक रजिस्ट्रेशन का हो नहीं पा रहा है। सवाल ये है कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को भी ये लोग फॉलो नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। ये जब अपने घरों में जाएंगे, जब अपने इलाके में जाएंगे तो कितनी बड़ी चुनौती होगी, कितना बड़ा चैलेंज होगा कोरोना के संक्रमण को रोकने के लिए, क्योंकि किसी को नहीं पता कि इनको कोरोना है या नहीं है। और हजारों की तादाद से जो इस वक्त विजुअल्स आप लगातार देख रहे होंगे कि रजिस्ट्रेशन कराने के लिए सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को फॉलो ये नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। आप होम मिनिस्टर रह चुके हैं, वित्त फिनांस मिनिस्टर रह चुके हैं, देश के लिए कितनी बड़ी चुनौती, कितना बड़ा चैलेंज है ये, सरकार को क्या सलाह देंगे आप?
Tell me the gist, Pranav.
Sir, he says that he is out in the field where he can see
Yes.
there are thousands of neighbors standing and they are
Yes.
registering themselves to go back to their home. The challenge is that when they go back, they pose a health threat to wherever they are going.
Understood.
How does the government deal with it?
It's a complete mismanagement. When they announced a lockdown with about 3.5, 4 hours notice, they obviously completely forgot about the migrant worker who, after a few days at least, will want to go back home. They thought he will stay back in the city or town and continue to suffer and continue to starve. A complete mismanagement, misjudgment, monumental error. They should have made sure that enough transport facilities were available on a staggered basis over a period of a few days, allowing the migrant workers who wish to go home to return and then impose the lockdown, be that as it may. When the migrant worker wanted to go back home, look at how the Karnataka government behaves. It cancels the trains. Migrant worker is not slave labor, is not bonded labor. When there was a huge protest, then they allowed the trains to run again. Complete mismanagement. The railway minister is being economical with the truth when he says not enough trains are being ordered. Chief minister after chief minister has said, we have ordered so many trains, you have only supplied so many trains. It's a complete mismanagement of the situation. Railway ministry, transport ministry, interstate coordination is a complete mismanagement. Look at what's happening in the borders. Delhi UP border, UP Madhya Pradesh border. The situation is so chaotic, and the picture you showed me shows that the situation is so chaotic that while the migrant worker, desperate to go home, will go home, he probably is violating a lot of minimum conditions for containing the virus, like social distancing, etc., etc.
Sir, a written question has been sent in by Purnima Joshi from Business Line. She wants if you could comment on devastated sectors such as travel, tourism, hospitality, that has been totally left out. Also, what is the focus on so-called reforms, retreat of PSUs across strategic sectors in this time of crisis? Is our question.
You see, the government has, I think, made it abundantly clear to the chambers, if not publicly, at least privately, that the larger organized industries are getting nothing from this stimulus package. I've heard this from several industrialists. They don't expect anything. Even by the time the third tranche was over, they were calling me to say, sir, we are getting nothing. I have cautioned them they will get nothing. The government thinks that large industry, organized industry will find its feet. How will it find its feet? Aviation cannot resume without help. Automobile may limp back over a period of months. Tourism, hospitality is practically dead. Exports are dead. Each one of them required a sectoral approach, a sector-specific package, which has not been given. I pointed it out earlier in columns and tweets. You have to take a sectoral approach. This government has completely ignored them and said, you do what you like, you find your own feet. And I'm afraid this is no way to get our way out of the hole we have dug itself in.
Thank you, sir. A few last questions. Meenakshi Bhattacharya from Sanmark. Please come in, Meenakshi.
Sir, a lot of people, lot of migrant labor going back to their home villages. How the Congress will reach them to help?
Congress will?
Reach them to help.
We are doing our best. We offer to pay for the travel of the migrant worker. States are refusing to take the money. There's still a dispute about who's paying the fare. Many passengers, migrant workers are being charged the fare, which is condemnable. That's one issue. When they go back to the home states, it is the responsibility of the home state to provide them work, to somehow create employment opportunities. Punjab will provide. Punjab's farm sector is vibrant, so Punjab will provide work to every returning migrant worker. I think Kerala has a plan. It has in fact set apart a large amount of money from its state budget to take care of migrant worker. Let us see how it works. Chhattisgarh is already helping the returning migrant worker. Jharkhand is helping the migrant worker. So we will do our best to help the migrant worker in the states that we are in governance. But the BJP also must do something rather than treating the migrant worker as some kind of a subhuman.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Again, the next one from Somnath Pratidin, West Bengal. Somnath, please ask your question. Somnath ji, are you there?
Unmute नहीं हो रहा सर.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, unmute नहीं हो रहा उनका.
Can you hear us? We'll move to the... Abdul Bari ji, please ask your question.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. The Congress party now terms the economic package as mere eyewash. What will be the future course of action? Will the Congress party take along opposition parties to build up pressure on the government?
See, today in a lockdown situation, each party, wherever the leaders are making statements. But there is a lot of common ground in the statements made by the Congress party, by the regional parties who are ruling the states, by the left parties. Sooner than later, the opposition parties will find an opportunity to meet and raise their voices collectively. But even the separate voices have a lot of commonality among them. This is a hopelessly inadequate package. This is adding insult to the injury of the suffering people. And we will press for Parliament to be convened. At least a parliamentary committee should be convened to discuss this package. How can they announce a bogus 20 lakh crore package and use the media and the official institutions to propagate this number without calling the parliamentary committee which will scrutinize this number. Let the finance ministry's standing committee be called. Let the industry commerce ministry standing committee be called. Let the labor ministry's standing committee be called. And we will scrutinize, we will ask them questions. I mean, I wish that political parties are invited to an FM officer's press conference. Some of you are asking questions, but I think you should ask harder questions. Point out each item and say, what is this item? So, for example, they say we will use Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana to build low-cost housing for migrant workers. Do they have a Aladdin's lamp that you rub the lamp and the low-cost housing requires land, agency, bidding, mobilization of material and building according to plans. It will take 3 years, 4 years to put up low-cost housing. And the finance minister casually announces PMY will be used to build low-cost housing, and that is part of the stimulus package. I mean, I can pick each item and debate, but where is the debate? There is no debate in the media. There is no debate in an all-party meeting. There is no debate in a parliamentary standing committee. There is no debate in parliament. Who do we debate?
So there are some debates that are taking place, Mr. Chidambaram, in the media. But having said that, we want to know from the Congress party what you are doing in terms of parliamentary oversight. What steps are you taking to speak to the speaker and to the vice president to ensure that parliamentary committees, Mr. Anand Sharma had written a letter to the vice president. They had said that they will convene a committee. But till today, we have no legislative oversight. The Chief Justice of India says all three, the executive, the legislature and the judiciary should work together. But we are seeing the legislature, in particular the opposition, for wanting in terms of action.
What more can we do? How many committees are chaired by the Congress member? I think Anand Sharma chairs one, Shashi Tharoor chairs one, and maybe there's one other committee. Both have written to the presiding officer concerned, spoken to the presiding officer and says, we must convene this committee, at least a virtual meeting of the committee. But some silly rule is being cited by the Secretariat to say that confidentiality and secrecy will be compromised if a virtual meeting takes place. What is this confidentiality? You have announced the package. We're going to debate that package. What is the confidentiality and the secrecy there? I think the government is deliberately ignoring, sidelining parliamentary institutions. What do you want us to do? Do you want the Congress members who are scattered all over the country, the members who we have in the committee, to go on a dharna or virtual dharna? I mean, what do you want us to do? I mean, we are raising our voice and saying, call the committee, call at least a virtual meeting of the committee. But there's no response.
Thank you, sir. We'll try to bring in Somnath once more from Pradhan.
Rakesh at the earlier round. Rakesh was
yeah. Somnath ji, can you hear?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
सर नमस्ते सर. सर क्या आपको लगता है कि अगर माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स जो है उनके पास अगर पोस्टल बैलेट का अधिकार होता तो भी वो उन लोगों के साथ ऐसा बर्ताव होता? अगर पोस्टल बैलेट से वो लोग अपना मतदान कर सकते तो फिर क्या ऐसा बुरा दिन उनको देखना नहीं पड़ता?
What's the question? Whether migrant workers will be given postal ballot?
Yes, if they had the right to cast their vote by a postal ballot, do you think the government would have treated them the same way?
But I don't know. Did they have a postal ballot? I doubt it. I don't think they had a postal ballot.
Yes, sir.
No,
That's
sir, that's not.
No, sir. My question.
Postal ballot, would they have been treated so shoddily? If they could, would they have been treated like this?
I don't think so. I don't think this government is concerned about the poorest of the poor in this country. This is an elitist government. This is a government which is largely guided by the privileged sections. One correspondent in Indian Express in a column wrote, the new Khan Market gang. The old gang is over. There's a new gang now. Therefore, this government is complacent and smug because elections are 4 years away. Let's see. But I think the migrant worker had a postal ballot. He will vote resoundingly against his government. But unfortunately, elections are 4 years away. That is contributing to the smugness and complacency and contempt shown by the government.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Rakesh ji, would you like to ask? Rakesh ji, can you hear us? Please unmute yourself.
प्रणव झा जी
हाँ, अरे आता हूँ आप इसके बाद.
Yes.
Rakesh ji, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chidambaram, good day and thank you. My point is, I have read your article yesterday in Indian Express. You have said, unless there is additional borrowing, there is no fiscal stimulus. And the government is sticking to the planned budgeted expenditure. And if you take into considerations the total stimulus package which has been given of 20 lakhs rupees, only 1.86 lakh crore rupees have been given. I mean, as a cash flow, the cash flow from the government coffers is only 1.86 lakh crore rupees. That comes to less than 10%. Is it? Yes, it is less than 9 point something.
0.91, less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Oh, sorry, less than 1%. I mean, एक रुपए में से 10 पैसा भी नहीं जाएगा. एक रुपया में से 9 पैसा जाएगा. Out of 1 rupee, only 9 पैसे will go to the pupil. I mean, the cash flow from the government coffers is only 1.86 lakh crore rupees. That is amazing. That is astonishing. For the out of 20 lakhs, you are giving only 1.86 lakh crore rupees to the migrant workers, including all the persons who have suffered this lockdown. So what do you think, that the government should come out with another package? Government should clarify that out of 20 lakhs rupees, this is within the planned budgeted expenditure, not more than that.
No, that's my statement. The last paragraph of my statement says that this is to be rejected.
Yeah.
This package is to be rejected as inadequate. Government must come up with a revised and comprehensive stimulus package where the real additional expenditure, I underline those 3 words, real additional expenditure is not less than 10 lakh crore rupees. They already have a budget for 30 lakh crore. They must spend another 10 lakh crore at the minimum. So the total expenditure in the country must be in the region of 40 lakh crore rupees. Only then it will be a stimulus. Only then money will reach the hands of the poor. All this is complete eyewash. Nothing will go to the poor.
We'll move to the next question, sir. Arun Singh is waiting, IBN 7. Arun ji, please come in.
Mr. Chidambaram,
yes.
If you have any comment to offer on what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman yesterday said, that Rahul Gandhi was doing dramabaji, sitting on footpath talking to the migrant laborers, and she said that Rahul Gandhi should have helped migrant laborers lifting their baggage instead.
I mean, I can only be sorry for her. Rahul Gandhi went to meet the migrant worker. Show me one central minister who's gone to meet the migrant worker. Why didn't the finance minister go and meet the migrant workers who are at the railway station and bus stand in Delhi, desperately trying to go? And even if Mr. Rahul Gandhi wants to help, what help can he give? He can only offer to arrange buses, which he did. So he offered buses and transported them. The police swooped in and tried to arrest them, but then better counsel, wiser counsel prevailed. They didn't arrest them. They allowed the buses to go after a little jagada. Now, what kind of a comment is this for a finance minister of India to say, Mr. Rahul Gandhi should have lifted the baggage? All right, you can lift one piece of baggage or 2 pieces of baggage? Can he lift 200 pieces of baggage? These are comments which do not deserve an answer. I think you have dignified it by asking a question, and I've dignified it by giving an answer. These are to be rejected with contempt. This kind of criticism must be rejected with contempt, and I request the finance minister to respond to questions in a more mature and seasoned manner.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to the last question. Manan Kumar, please try to come in.
Yeah, Mr. Chidambaram.
I have a question.
Yeah, my question is that, as Manrega seems to be the only hope for now, do you think that its quantum and its scope should be increased? And if yes, by how much?
See, Manrega is supposed to be need-based. If there is demand, you have to provide the work. That's the underlying principle of Manrega. Now, I will answer that question once I know what additional number of days of work has been given to each worker in any state. Suppose, say, Madhya Pradesh reports that in the month of May, 5 days of work has been given on an average to each worker. That's obviously inadequate. And then I'll wait to June. If June returns a number like 12 days of work have been given to a Manrega worker, that's obviously inadequate. I think in order to sustain a family requires at least 3,000-4,000 rupees a month, and at the rate of about 200 rupees a day, there should be at least 20 days of work in a month for every worker. Let us see whether this government provides an average 20 days of work to each worker who wants Manrega work. If they don't touch anywhere near 20, this is again an eyewash. If you reach 20, if your limit of 300 crore man days is reached, expand it. Provide more money. That is the only safety net you've got. It is not your safety net. It is the safety net that we invented. You criticized it. But today, that is the only safety net you have got, and use that safety net for heaven's sake. I thought there was a lady who wanted to ask a question.
Yes, sir. In fact, there are a couple of more.
Yes, I'm here from Times
I
Now.
have a question, sir, here.
Yeah, let's run through quickly.
I'm here from Times Now, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you've also been a former home minister. Sir, given the scenario of a lockdown and a pandemic that we are faced with, sir, how do you see when the students of Jamia are being arrested in connection to the Delhi riots right now? Many of them were picked up early this morning and yesterday, and for the last couple of weeks as well, sir.
It's condemnable. Is this a time to pick up a student? Where is he running away? I think the entire case is a false case, but that's a separate debate, separate discussion. But even if you identify somebody who has to be questioned, what's the great hurry in questioning him today? And why can't you simply issue a notice? Section 41 notice under the CRP, he will appear and answer your questions. Why arrest him? This is to put fear in the minds of students and people. Listen, don't protest, don't murmur, don't ask questions. We will arrest you. We will put you in custody. This is all shows a state of mind which is inconsistent and incompatible with a democracy.
Anand Patel wanted to ask from India Today. Anand, please come in.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is about the reforms which the government has announced, right from opening up the, increasing the FDI in the defense production to opening up the atomic sector, space exploration. And also yesterday, the finance minister announced that the PSUs will not be allowed in one sector. More than 4 PSUs will not be allowed, and the government will come up with a separate notification. So it looks like government is going to privatize a number of PSUs as well. Do you think that this will boost investment to tide over the crisis we are facing? What do you see coming?
So can I ask? Can I add on something to this?
Yes. Yes.
So this government is corporatization by opening up all these sectors to the private entities. So do you feel that all these decisions will have a far-reaching implications on our country in a bad sense?
Listen, these are grandiose announcements by an opportunistic government which is taking shelter under the fact that there's no parliament sitting, there's no committee meeting, no stakeholder consultation, and making all these announcements. But none of them today is backed by a detailed notification giving the terms and conditions. See, privatization of a PSC is not a simple thing that can be done overnight. Let's see what their guidelines will be. And are they doing a grand clearance sale like my colleague, Mr. Anand Sharma, asked yesterday? This is not the time to do a grand clearance sale of PSCs to your favorite friends in the private sector. I don't think any of this has any impact immediately. They may have downsides and very dangerous implications once the details come down. But let me say very clearly, we will address a separate press conference on the so-called PSU reforms, on the FDI in defense production, on many other things that the finance minister put in this 20 lakh crore package. We will address separate press conferences in the days coming, taking them apart and asking hard questions. I think you should also prepare your hard questions and we will answer them. Today, I wanted to focus on the stimulus package, but I have not forgotten the so-called reform package that they have announced, which has nothing to do with the stimulus package. We will take each item, we will examine each item, and we will come up with a considered response. And you should also come with considered questions on those subjects.
Supriya from TV9 has been waiting for a long time. Supriya, please come in fast.
Pranabji, she is not there, in fact.
Okay. Sir, I have a question. Nicholas has sent from Outlook. He asks, yes, the economic package had sought to pass off clearing dues on individual taxpayers and MSMEs as a stimulus. However, there is no indication of dues of states being cleared immediately, despite the states being forced to spend massively on relief measures. By derailing finances of the states, is the centre creating a situation for a financial emergency?
No. This is about dues of MSMEs, is it?
No, sir. Dues of states. He wants
dues of states. All right.
Yes, sir.
See, Finance Minister admitted yesterday that she has not paid the dues after December 2019 in the GST share. So that's a legitimate right of the states. All that they have given is the SDRF, which anyway belongs to the states, and a share of the tax revenues for the month of April 2020, which is again a constitutional right of the state. But obviously, this kind of financial transfer is inadequate. What the states are asking is, over and above our entitlement, give us grants and aid, give us a right to borrow. These are the two demands of chief ministers. The constitutional statutory right to a share is already there, and it should already be there in the 30 lakh crore expenditure budget. So nobody is doing any state a favor by transferring that today. They are asking for two things, and let me repeat it. One, they say larger, generous grants and aid, to which the answer is no answer. The second is allow us to borrow more. They have tried to give an increased limit from 3% to 5%, but hedged with so many conditions that the one or two states that I've spoken to say we will not be able to fulfill these conditions in the remaining 7-8 months to allow us to borrow. So the right thing to do for the government is what a Congress government would have done. Is a Congress government would have borrowed and on lend to the states so that their interest rates are reasonable. The Congress government would have borrowed and given generous grants and aid to the state. That is the only way to help the states. Every chief minister has made these two demands, and there is an answer to that, and I'm giving the answer. The answer is for the central government to borrow and on-lend to the state. Central government to borrow and from its own other resources give larger, more generous grants and aid to the states.
Thank you, sir. We have come to the end of the press conference. I've run out of questions now.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Let me remind you again that there are parts of the finance minister's 5 tranches which have nothing to do with the financial stimulus package. These raise serious questions, and the Congress party will, in the coming days, take up each issue and address them with all the seriousness that each issue deserves. Thank you and have a good day and be safe.